Welcome everyone for the next episode of the Bharat Connect. This week we are going with this month we are going that the topic we are going to take up is customer experience is the product. We have talked different angle about the customer experience throughout our last couple of years, and so this time, we are approaching in a little bit different way, I guess. So, how do companies take this seriously, and what they do to make themselves, differentiated, and how what importance they give for their customer experience, to make it much more preferable for the customers to come back to them all the time, because we know a lot of companies are offering a lot of services very similar, and so it's a lot more competitive than in the past. And so how do we keep ourselves and the right side of the equation, right? So that's about the the topic we are going to discuss today. So if you look at the history, it has shown that every product and innovation gets commoditized at some point, right? Because that's how you make it, and then you scale it, and then make sure a lot of people are able to consume it, and so that's how the growth factors have been. Many success stories we have seen, right? So when it happens, how does the customer experience evolve in that kind of a growth period, right? So what do they do to make sure that customers are getting the benefit, and why they have to why they are preferring to stay with that kind of a company, which is trying to commoditize, and then make them successful, right? So there has to be some underlying reasons for it, and there should be some interesting points that we can uncover, and we can learn from it. So that's why we have a good three panelists today to explain that, and then share their experience with us. So so let's get this one started, and then take their input. um so before I introduce our panelists, one little instant that happened to me 2 days back, like a few days back actually. It's not 2 days. Saturday, last Saturday exactly. So I have taken my son to a chess tournament, and so it's out of town, so we had to go stay somewhere, and then go attend the different rounds. Right, the first round is done, the second round is evening 6 o'clock, so we are going to go, but then the game can go for 5 hours, right? So so that's going to be too late for the dinner, so said, okay, let's have something early. So we are literally at the restaurant at 4:30 in the evening, trying to get dinner, because 6 o'clock around starts. So we are there, and then waitress, she gave menu, and then I said, I explained her, we are not that hungry, we are a little bit early than our usual time because of this reason. So let's see what we can do. Maybe we'll take one entree, and then split it, suggest. And then she suggested, and then we said, we went ahead. So what she did is, this particular restaurant, I have been, of course, this is a different location because I travel out of town, but we have been to the same chain, at least 100, 200 times, because favorite place for the kids and everything. So, I was thinking maybe, my usual experience is they're going to tell us, maybe you have to take two entree, and then, which is, we are okay with, but I don't even have space in our room to, keep any leftovers or anything like that. So I'm just, not interested in carrying it around. Um, so I explained it, and then she said, okay, I can definitely do something. And then she came back, and then, she split that portion absolutely really well. And she not even split that portion. What she did is she made two different platters of that, the quantity wise it's the same, but then the thing is like she made it in an easy way, like she even baked and everything like in two different plates all together. There is no need for us to do any split or anything when she brought it up to the table. Why I'm explaining to this detail is the the experience, right? And what what we expected and what really happened, and how it touches you and how it moves you sometimes, right? So it is so nice. uh, the restaurant I have been going to like 15-20 years. I don't even know how many number of times I said 200 more times. How many times I remember what I did, what I was experiencing in that particular restaurant, right? Not too many, maybe one or two when we celebrated a birthday party or something like that, but not exactly for the sake of remembering the restaurant itself, right? And nothing to do with us, nothing to do with any special occasion. And it is just to remembering about that business itself where you are as a consumer, but you are appreciating it. And then so because it's a positive experience that she was able to give us, right? So I was really taken by surprise, and I was moved by that, what she was able to do. It's just very small thing, but understanding what understanding what customer is asking, and looking at their situation, and the restaurant itself could not have done anything differently. That has to be done by somebody, right? And that is the right person, right? The waitress. But when you have the front facing customer representative doing the right thing at the right time, need not be anything bigger, need not be anything fancy, need not be anything expensive. Very simple. Listening to the customers, and doing the right thing at the right time can give a very positive impact, and get a customer, be a loyal customer for you like in a really long time, because I think that's what it is, all about how to make ourselves different and make ourselves relevant to keep it going. So with that, a little story of mine. Let's get this started. So I will introduce the panelists. We have three great panelists today. Komal is currently working as a business head at wealth and retail distribution and digital banking at SPM Bank. Kamal has more than 20 years of experience with in the BFSI area, and retail, commercial, and SME banking, with wealth management and digital initiatives, foreign exchanges, and customer experience. So she started with the customer experience, and then she moved into a lot more core functionalities. And as she explained a few minutes back, she has even done a lot of course, and equipped herself on the AI, ML, and the latest technologies, how to harness that power of that in the space of finance. And she had a lot of experience in different companies like a Kotak Mahindra, HDFC, and so that is definitely going to add to her strength as well. So we are thrilled to have you as part of this panel, Kamal, and we look forward to hearing your views. Thank you so much for being here.
Uttaman, thank you so much for having me here. I'll be glad to talk to all of the present participants here.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. And so next panelist is Arun. Arun is like a senior product marketing professional with expertise in product marketing, sales enablement, content marketing, and global communication. So he has over a decade of experience in B2B marketing, especially in the product marketing space. So he has consciously employed creativity and critical thinking, and to deliver world class marketing experience while keeping the customers at the center of everything. So he has worked in many different companies, seen a very good growth at Forai, ABB, and the Solar Winds, etc. So Arun, we are happy to have you as part of this discussion, and we are curious to hear your views. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here.
Thank you for welcoming, Uttaman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
glad to be here.
Thank you. And so our last but not the least, Vivek. Vivek is currently a senior director at MPS Interactive, handling their content development and international design. Sorry, instructional design. He is an engineer from IIT. So he was sharing his passion like a few minutes back. So IIT with a passion for everything creative, meaning like a lot of into the writing and showcasing in a different way, capturing the customers attention. So he had varied experiences working as a copywriter at multiple ad agencies, running his own agencies, and software development and content development and core marketing. So he had done a lot of things that touches the customers at a different level, and seen some of those success, and so he has a lot of those experience. In his 3 decades of experience, he has greatly aligned the customer organization's objectives with the customer needs, and had championed customer experience across different roles. Vivek, happy to have you here. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today.
Yeah, thanks, Sutaman. Absolutely delighted to be part of this discussion.
Yeah, thanks. So we'll get this started with a few discussion points. I have put together like 5 points. So the first one, we will have all three of you to share your thought on this one. So it's going to be more common about the customer experience itself, right? To set the context for the discussion, right? I will I'm going to start with this discussion. How do you define customer experience in the context of your offering? Can you provide examples of how you have successfully embraced customer experience? How do you quantify customer experience? So I guess it's a little bit more broad, and to get us started on the right direction. So who wants to go first? Kamal, you want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say, banking and financial services is predominantly a customer dominated industry. So everything that happens in the stream revolves around the customer. So when we are talking about customer experience, initially at the very beginning, when, I'll say a few years back, say about a decade back, the experience of the customer in financial services would primarily revolve around the product. So product would mean, whatever the customer may be looking at as an offering from the financial institution. But when we are talking about today's scenario, so product is something which is given. So it's a financial services, and particularly banking is a highly competitive industry. So the players, I mean, they do not leave any scope for non-introduction of the product in the space they are existing. So product is a given. There's a huge shift that is seen in the way customer experience is now defined in financial services. So of course, pricing and the value that the customer is looking at from the product is critical, so that remains. But then the clients look for something beyond materialistic gains in these times. So which is primarily defining experience for them. So it could be dependent on the kind of client segment you are handling. So experience is very subjective. You can't really generalize it for the whole audience in financial services industry.
Yeah.
So if you are dealing with a millennial, the experience will be defined in a different way. If you're dealing with somebody who's consolidating his wealth, his experience will be defined in a very different way. And
Yeah.
so it's a wide term, and like I mentioned, there is a shift. So the client is looking beyond the financial gains. Financial gains are underlying and given. Any financial services organization is assumed to fulfill that core objective of offering the product and offering the basic experience. So whether it is speed of doing a transaction for a customer, or it is the reduction in the span in which the transaction for a client gets done, or it is the presence of the multimodal channels, like whether it is through which channels the client has an access. So
Yeah.
all the speed, accuracy, modes, so which is giving, like I said, which is giving an experience beyond just the transaction value, is something which primarily defines the word experience for customer these days. And it is very dynamic, it is continuous, and has to happen on an ongoing basis, especially in a client dominated space.
Yeah.
So to answer the other part, when we are talking about measurement, then of course organizations are measuring customer service, because what gets measured will get monitored and will get improved. So there are internal methodologies which organizations use in terms of the client service, like CSAT scores are there, net promoter scores are there. Inbound feedbacks of the customers are taken by reaching out to the customer to understand how their experience was while interacting with a human being who's dealing with them, or while interacting with the interface that the organization offers. So the interface could be digital, social media, or a human being interaction that has happened. So those methodologies are definitely deployed by the organizations to assess where do they stand, to take the feedback and to incorporate it to make those experiences better. But holistically, the definition has seen a considerable shift. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
from it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the ease of use and making it available in multiple channels. Yeah, it's a lot more things are taken for granted now. Yeah. Yeah. On top of the core product. Yeah. Yeah. So Arun, you wanna
Sure.
add?
Yeah, I have. Thank you for having me here once again. So, yeah, good afternoon to good evening to everyone. And I come from a B2B product space. So for me, so I've worked in different industries, as in the product catered to different set of B2B users. Some of the examples that I've worked were around supply chain, energy, as in the renewables industry,
Yeah.
and ITSM. So in each of this space, if you look at the products that we've did, so the product is the hero. And how the experience can get translated to the product is, I would put it this way: the ability of our products to solve the problems of customer, the pain points of the customer, is what gets translated as an experience. So how do they feel when they are using my product? Is it solving the problem is the first point, but how ease they feel when solving the product, when solving that problem? Is it they are able to, they are reaching to us because they have a latent problem or a burning problem with which we understand to solve it. So that is what I would say, a customer experience in the product space. I can give you an example of how we would measure how the product experience is translated in a vertical like a supply chain. For instance, I was dealing a product which largely helps e-commerce companies deliver the products to the end consumers. So I mean, of course, so here the experience that they wanted to give to the end consumers is on time delivery. They never want to actually delay the product. So that's the metric that has been constantly monitored on to do that. And while in another example that I could completely a different example is, when I was working with a product to deliver value to a wind energy platform, is for this is for people who are the technicians are the customers, and so they want to know when the uh, downtime would happen for a wind blades, and we should be able to detect that problem much ahead in time and deliver that knowledge to them. So it varies from industries to industries, but if you really look at from a product space, I would say, the ability of a product to solve a particular problem from a user is what is an experience, and how well they are able to understand and appreciate that value is what getting translated in as a customer experience. And ultimately, while we call these smaller benefits as the experience, all of this experience is what's getting compounded as your bottom line. So, and that's what is important also. So, and that's how I would define customer experience from a product side. And in terms of how do we quantify it, there are a lot of metrics at a very higher level. Is one, Komal rightly pointed out, we have the NPS scores, which is rightly defined in terms of how well they are willing to promote our product as a direct measure of how well our product is being used by the customer. And then we also measure product adaptations, so which is how many users are using our product. So whether how actively they are using the features that we are giving it to them. So we have metrics like daily active users or monthly active users to measure how many people are logging into the systems and which features are getting used or not. And also, and another interesting way that, or rather I would say, and another interesting leverage that we have as product companies is in terms of working along with the customers when we are building those products. So once we sell, they become our customers. And then so we constantly upgrade our products, we constantly find the problems that we were willing to solve. So one is an effort that we take from our side of understanding the market and understanding the trends, and of course we are aggressively get feedback from our customers, do user group studies, and even share our product roadmaps to validate how do you think about it. So do you think this is how the product would help in about a year or so? What is your thoughts about it? So I think that's the way we try to bring the products also, I mean the consumers, my consumers, which is B2B customers, also into that experience phase. So they believe that the product is built for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we'll go to Vivek.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I completely agree with what Komal and Arun were saying. In fact, way back in around the 1980s, the icon of customer experience, that is Steve Jobs. He said about when they were launching the Apple Macintosh, and people were asking him that what is your marketing plan and things like that. So Steve is that's what Arun said is exactly what Steve had said, that it is the customer experience is not it's not marketing that defines the customer experience. We don't say that this is how our product is going to be. It is defined by what the customer feels when they use that product. What is the experience they get is literally, I mean, it is that is customer experience. And with that customer centricity that that they have carried through for so many decades, that's, I guess, shows how important really customer experience is, when you place it at the center of your product development or your services, and things like that. And again, experiences can vary across industries, but probably one common thread is the level of personalization that we can bring, especially today with technology and things like that. Because we have the capability to literally reach billions of people with just a click of a mouse. So that kind of power is there today. So that's it will really contribute to delivering tailor-made solutions that are molded to customer tastes and preferences, and things like that.
Yeah.
In terms of measuring these impact, I mean, again, it depends. There are things like for example, voice analytics. You can when talking to a person on the phone, you can have an AI program that is evaluating whether what is the sentiment, what is the emotion. You can do facial recognition to track people's reactions, things like that. If you're doing something around the web, how much time does a person spend on your website? Do they bounce off your pages? And generally speaking, what is your repeat rate of repeat business? How often do customers come back? For example, FPS Interactive they have a customer retention rate of like 90%. So how long do your customers stay with you, in the long term?
Yeah.
Those kind of things. All
Yeah.
these, could be used to measure customer experience.
Yeah. True. Yeah. At the end of the day, like, how many customers and for how long you're able to retain, like, that tells you exactly, like, yeah, how they like it. Yeah. Okay. It's a good point. So we'll now go to, like, one round of, like, individual, like, discussion points. Like, others, if you have any, like, thoughts, we can always share. So there is no, like, no restrictions on that. So let's go to Arun now. Arun, how do you align customer experience with your product or service strategy? What challenges have you faced while trying to prioritize customer experience? Can you give some examples and ideas on how to overcome those challenges?
Sure. See, I think the when I was in the service sector of marketing, it was pretty straightforward in terms of aligning the experience to a product, because we are building a custom product for our consumers. So which means for my customers, so it's pretty much you gather the inputs into it. But from the product space, it gets trickier. So we've kind of built a product for a larger audiences based on the collective feedback or for a particular set of customers. So when we have so which means that it addresses to a large set of chunk of persona. Again, I pick an example from the energy sector that we've built a product called microgrids, which is the functionality of the product is to bring together your renewable sources with your conventional energy along with gases, and then provide act as an energy efficient machine, helping in reduce your expenditure. And but when we go to the customers and in trying to do align their inputs, so when in the product space it gets tricky, because a lot of our customers beyond a point or beyond a curve want certain personalization, and which is unless I kind of my product has a very a no code low code model where the workflow allows me to design certain nitty-gritty quite easily. We can ship those and make
Yeah.
them happier, but that's not always the case. It depends on the vertical with which I operate, and that was possible probably in a supply chain with an e-commerce model, but that was not when I was working with a freemium model. So that is a tricky challenge. So I think one way I and the team around me kind of addressed is trying to get the voice of the customer. So that's something which we do um, uh, every quarter, that we go out to our
Yeah.
existing set of customers to gather feedback about what do they believe and how the product is helping them in their everyday operations, and what do they think has to be introduced. And then based on the feedback that we receive, we again collectively look into understand whether is there a common pattern that arrives from the customers that can be taken into consideration for a future enhancement, which can be given as a product or an extra capability to them. And sometimes it is quite possible for us to accommodate some of this requests coming from them, and sometimes we can't because of the cost benefit analysis. And I think when it is possible, it is a win-win for us. So we are able to develop those which comes from probably a couple of customers, and then we introduce those to a new set of customers and prospects, which is a win for us as a business, as a product business. And when we are not able to do that, I think in those times we have to we kind of work around the pricing methodology, and we also work around in terms of how well we can actually addressed in those concerns in other ways, probably by improving UI, or can it help, or that's the way we would go about doing it. I think I would say these are the common challenges in terms of aligning a product. And I think in the product space, it's one way it's easier to integrate because you're tagging along with your customers and building the roadmap. Yeah, but the limitation is to how far we can actually take the feedback and address it to a larger market.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Arun. Yeah, that's a good point. So now the next one is for Vivek. Personalization has gained a lot of traction in the customer experience space. Besides, organizations have started offering multiple channels for customers to reach them, and omnichannel is considered the de facto today. With all these rapid changes, how do you ensure consistency in customer experience space?
Okay. So one thing I would say is that what companies should not do is to spread themselves too thin, in the sense that it is better to do one thing excellently rather than do 10 average things. So when you are trying to, it is understandable you're trying to reach customers in multiple channels and be there wherever they are. But unless you can guarantee that level of service or that level of attention in every channel, it doesn't make sense to go multi-channel, because there are $1 million companies, small companies that work with just one Facebook page. You know, so so multi-channel is it's good for providing flexible kind of option, whereas omni-channel is like you create this consistent face across different channels. Essentially, again, the thing is that you need to keep the customer at the center. So which channel really appeals, which channel really resonates with your customer, that can vary depending on your type of business. Is it relevant to your customer? So it's not about you reaching out to multi channels or being omni channel, but what does your customer want? Like maybe one channel is good enough, one size doesn't fit all, that kind of thing. But having said that, personalization is something that we can't afford not to do it. So it is something that irrespective of whether you go multi-channel, omni-channel, that tailoring that experience, using leveraging technology to make sure that what the customer gets is kind of pinpoints their preferences. So in fact, I'd go a step further and say you should hyper personalize. Go for hyper personalization.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So now we'll move to Kamal, the next discussion point. I keep hearing that most leadership key areas are tied to both customer experience and employee experience. I'm sure employee experience directly influences the customer experience. What are your thoughts on this? How do you ensure exceptional employee experience and engagement? And how does it correlate with the objectives of customer experience?
Again, in the financial services industry, like I mentioned in my previous, talk, discussion point as well, we are purely dominated by what our customer wants.
Yeah,
So that is, the center and heart of whatever a financial service organization is doing, because it's a B2C model. Without customers, the organizations have no end user. So when it comes to correlating or integrating employee experience with the customer experience, it becomes extremely essential. because
Yeah.
though there are other means, our industry, financial service industry, is a multi-channel industry. In fact, we all our colleagues are talking about personalization. Vivek mentioned, Arun has been mentioning. So personalization is definitely gaining space, but then personal connect is losing space at the same time. So through digital, it is a rare opportunity for us. We are instead looking for opportunities to reach out to the customer. Just going a little back in the conversation before I come to employee and customer experience. So in today's time, with so much of personalization, so much of digital, especially playing a vital role in financial services, one of the core challenges that we have is acquisition of the customer. When we have retention of the customer is a core challenge, then engagement is a even bigger challenge, because client is hardly giving us any opportunities to engage, because mostly we have trained them to do everything on their own. And that is what is one thing that is giving them the ultimate wow factor of the experience, which is a fantastic thing to happen, but it is kind of a double-edged sword. So if we have to kind of maintain a balance in the cost of acquisition and the ROI that we get from the customer, it will come more from the customers that we have with us than a continuous acquisition model. So this gets me to the point back. So customer experience is imperative to offer that experience wherever employees or human beings are getting a chance to interact with the customer. It creates an opportunity, and it definitely plays a vital role to offer that exceptional customer experience whenever human interaction comes into play. Now, when we are talking about employee experience, it is the joint responsibility of the business leaders, the HR. In today's time, when we are emphasizing so much on technology and digital, then how much is the technology offering a good experience to the employee also matters a lot. So because that further can be offered to the customer. So when it comes to KPI specific of the business leaders, then of course giving the tools to the employee to deliver what the customer wants, giving the requisite training, imparting the desired knowledge of the product offering, of the service, of the tools that the customer is has to use. This becomes the core prime day-to-day KPI measurement for the business leader. And then
Yeah.
of course the employee must have the confidence of reaching out when stuck to the business leader for resolution of what needs to be resolved. Otherwise it is a collective effort. But then of course I can say the SPOC, the single point of contact or the bridge between the employee and the other units, can be the business leader. And then of course it's for the business leader to kind of maintain a balance between offering good employee experience, which translates into a fabulous customer experience, is what
Okay.
I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. Good points. Yeah. So it is very important to keep our employees happy and involved and more enthusiastic, right? That's exactly what is going to give and connect those dots, right? So yeah. Okay, so we now with that we'll go to the last discussion point now. So this once again I'll take input from all three of you. How are you using technology to enhance customer experience? Can you give some examples or specific use cases of technology usage in the customer experience space? I'm sure, we mentioned a few of them, but so if you can throw one or two examples and how it helps you enhance, that would be good. Yeah. So whoever wants to go first? Yeah.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Uttaman. So I think In terms of customer experiences that we want to give from the product space, across the spectrum, I see that it could be a software product, it could be a SaaS product, or it could be even an industrial solution. I see that how the fulcrum for experience stands in the data. So I think it could be the B2B or the B2C space. I think bringing a centralized solution or implementing a data first culture in the organization and deep dive into uh, to understand and derive patterns out of it, to see how you can translate customer experience is what's the number one. I would say investing in the data intelligence is what is driving that factor of bringing customer experience alive. So without which it's nearly impossible in any business at the moment to understand how to. Of course, when we talk about customer experience, it's also the personalization is coupled with it. So right, and I think. In the product space, I definitely see that there are a lot of importance is given in the data, investing in data science, investing in data architecture to pull out and crunch millions of data and find patterns out of it. And of course, the second aspect, I think we all know about it, that the AI, how it's transforming. So we are investing in terms of taking the help from it to cull out patterns that would help us to more refine the experience every now and then. And the third point I'd say add to it is in terms of user interface and UX has taken a center stage in the last 3 years. It's no longer how I mean, we use mobile, we operate almost daily lives in mobile. So, and it's not just about what capabilities and features and how personalized your messages and communications and offerings are, but how good and aesthetically it is great to take that out also. So you having a solution which is seemingly someone is able to understand at the first time by just looking at it and just touching it makes a lot of difference vis-a-vis I have to spend about a few minutes on my mobile to figure out where it is. So I think these are the three areas that I've seen, making a lot of impact in terms of giving that kind of customer experience from the product space.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point, Sarun. Yeah. Kamal, Vivek.
So Vivek, you can go first.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, we've already seen, AI personalization, hyper personalization, all of that is possible. So essentially what we're doing is, using technology to understand customers better, and then kind of automating a delivery strategy or a marketing strategy or a communication strategy, so that, we kind of deliver a tailored product or a tailored message. In terms of actually delivering products and services, I think technology is what it's doing is really crunching the delivery schedules or the turnaround times. So now there's nothing that creates more customer delight than when you under promise and over deliver. You tell them I'll give it to you on Monday, but you give it to him on the Friday before that.
Friday. Yeah.
So all of this is possible with technology. So in the content space, we have automated videos. Like we were discussing, you just put a photograph and you create a video out of it. You just feed a script and you get a voice recording that you can't even make out is not a human voice. You can just create content on just about anything under the sun, with certain limitations of intellectual property, plagiarism, all of that. So if those kind of wrinkles are really ironed out, there's literally we are just poised for a leap ahead in customer experience because of technology.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Komal.
Yeah. With regards to technology, anything and everything that is happening in banking and financial services revolves around technology. A lot of, focus is there on digital migration or introduction of new digital platforms to the customer. So everything is backed by technology. So we can talk about small things like internet banking, mobile banking, or we can talk about, API integrations, or we may talk about chatbots now. To as advanced as coming to a chatbot, or even when you are logging into a website of a particular bank or a financial
Yeah.
institution, so you will first be talking to the bot. Only when you do not, only if your question doesn't fit in the large set of questions which the bot is anyway capable to answer, you will be redirected to an agent, or maybe you'll be talking to your relationship manager, whosoever may be assigned. So all these are big examples. So these are innovations that are happening on day-to-day basis. So even in offices of financial services organization, that time is not far that you will possibly be dealing with a lot of robots to assist you to the counters to kind of help you with. There are organizations already, financial services organizations already, which are taking, like, how they are leveraging on technology is they are already taking help of robotics to do the routine mundane task, or from counting cash to kind of answering a question of a client in a retail kind of a setup. Or there is machines that are working behind the scene to assess the credit requirement of a customer, disburse a loan if the customer has applied for in less than a few hours. So the assessment is not now dependent on a cumbersome 10-day kind of a documentation in every case. Financial institutions, banks, NBFCs, all of them are using machines, technology, to kind of study the patterns, study the behavior, and automatically, without any just to give an example, without any cumbersome paperwork, defining a credit that can be approved for a businessman to meet his needs. So parallelly, like in my conversation, like 2 3 different examples, whether it is of a bot, or it is assessing the credit requirement of a customer, or it is
Yeah.
a very basic requirement of a mobile or net banking. So everywhere technology is playing a vital and a vital role. So it is
Yeah.
only gonna kind of get more intensified to be used to the advantage of the organization, as well offer that kind of a benefit to the customer, whether it is in terms of speed, accuracy, fast response, or accurately predicting the requirement of the customer and matching the product with what the customer requires. So
Yeah.
yeah, it has to be like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So picking up the right choice of technology and putting them to use, good use, and in the right way is the key. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. As you mentioned, there are a lot of things are happening in that way, and lot of forefront examples are there in this space, and so like we are saying now, it is a lot changed about the last 3 years. In another 2 3 years, there will be a lot more changes even coming in, right? Because this technology is getting matured, and it's going through a lot of different learning curve, and it's going to be a lot more exciting and a lot more user friendlier, and yeah, good experience or yet to be an experience. So yeah, that's good. So I think that concludes all our discussion points. Now we'll open up the floor for the audience for their questions. So audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll give you some time, if you're thinking about a question. So meanwhile, I'll try to thank all panelists, and then and then when you have a question, we can go ahead. Okay. So while they are doing the question, so I want to thank all three of you, Komal, Arun, Vivek. Thanks so much for taking your time and being with us today, and sharing your experience and explaining all the questions. So we greatly appreciate, and let this not be the the last time. So we want to be interacting with you a lot more in the future, and different formats, as I said, like one-on-one or a blog, or if you have some content in your mind, it need not be anything formal. Let us know. We have people that who can take that and then thought, and then write it into a blog or article, and then and then go over with you, and then we can publish it. So because we seriously think a lot of experience from a lot of the senior leaders who we are interacting with are very valuable for a lot of other people. So if it is can be harvested and given to community in a good way, they can consume it. I think that would be a good job that we can do. Okay. So with that, so any questions? Yeah. If you have questions, you can go ahead, or if you want to put it in the chat, that's fine too.
I have one question to Komal.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, Hi, Komal. See, when you compare with an omnichannel platform, when you voice, email, chat, right, and WhatsApp nowadays. So, which channel is the better channel to communicate with customer to achieve a better customer experience, to to avoid these customer irritations and all, based upon the issues I'm talking about? Because when we are trying to, I have a different experiences with all the channels. Okay, so when you compare with voice, when you are trying to connect with your customer support people, obviously it is taking a longer time. In that scenario, which channel would be the better to give a better customer experience? I mean, in terms of quick resolution.
Yeah. Hi, Raja. So thank you for your question. See, my view here is, the way the industries are competitive, we really cannot, seclude or, exclude a particular channel from the list of channels we may want to offer to the customer because of one experience or one technology lag or whatever you may call it. So in a financial services industry, like I said, all channels become critically important, whether it is a contact center where there is a bot interaction then redirected to a human interaction, or whether it is a digital channel. So digital could be anything, whether it is a mobile banking you're using of an institution, or a net banking, or you are trying to interact through a social media channel. All channels are important. One individual may be comfortable with using one particular interaction channel, while the other may still prefer to only interact with a human being. So what becomes important here is that the organization has internal blueprint, internal processes which are aligned. So when we are talking about omni-channel, so there should be integration of all channels with each other. There should be a seamless flow that happens, which is the responsibility of the stakeholders within the organization to make it seamless, which will finally translate it into a customer experience. So if a particular channel has failed to deliver to the expectation of the customer, for example, then there are methodologies to seek feedback on a regular basis and make improvement. So that becomes the responsibility of the There are numerous organizations which are doing fairly great in the field of technology, making continuous improvements, leveraging on technology, as well as leveraging on the feedback that they get on an ongoing basis. While there are a lot many organizations who may just, because technology on its own may not deliver that wow factor. There has to be data which requires a continuous study to understand which areas require improvement and what has not worked well, and then fine tune it to make it better for a customer experience. So that is the responsibility of the internal stakeholders, for the customer to experience the end outcome which matches his expectations. So I
Yeah.
hope that answers, Raja.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So we have a question in the chat. So it says, I'm partnering contact center application to my clients. The biggest challenge I face is adaptation. The users who were on their mobile phones and landline phones feel very reluctant to move to the soft phone. Any suggestions to deal with this?
Yeah. So actually, if I may answer that.
Yeah.
So the thing is, Dave, that if a person is not adopting your product, it means they are not aware of their benefits or they are not convinced about their benefits. So it's your duty to, explain what are the benefits to them. Make sure that they understand, that they have become aware of why a soft phone is better than a landline. So a typical, a comparison, feature by feature comparison of one product versus the second other product, that is something that you need to make sure that they understand that. And also you need to understand that, see, there are three types of customers. That there are the early adopters. The moment something new comes up, they immediately pick it up and try it out. Then there are the followers who, they wait for somebody else to try it, and then they'll say, okay, is it good? Then they try it out. And then there are the latecomers who wait for everyone to adopt it, and after, at the very end, they will. So you need to have a different messaging for each group. So you should understand which group you're talking to. If you're talking to the innovators, you should focus on the innovative features. If you're talking to the followers, you tell them that, see, this company is using it. Why don't you try it? And of course, the latecomers will eventually come on board.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question and a good response. Yeah. Okay. Audience, any other questions?
Yeah, Hussein, this side, anyone can answer this. So we saw like how leveraging the power of personalization in improving customer experience in the service industry. Does personalization enhances customer engagement in any way?
I can answer that. So I touch based a little around, personal touch when I was talking about, employee experience and customer experience. When it comes to, meeting the requirement of the customer through personalization, so the technology backed, the data backed outcomes that the organizations are getting, so the any financial service organization or maybe other industry also, other organizations also are accurately map the requirement of the customer and the product offering that the customer is looking at. So in terms of the product that the customer may be looking at, or maybe have making up his mind, but he's not decisive. By studying the behavioral trends, the organizations can take a proactive approach and match the requirement of the product of the customer with what they have to offer. So that way it creates pretty much satisfaction and great experience for the customer. Now organizations are slowly, and in fact I will just alter my term. So in fact, in a very fast paced way, organizations are moving to offering products to the customer through personalized products to the customers through alternate channels, which may not involve human beings. So a customer may be able to avail of the personalized product which he expressed his interest in through a digital channel, net banking, or a social media interface only, or a bot could only fulfill the requirement to the last T. So and a human being may not even come into play. So, in a way, the personal touch is taking, a little bit of a hit there. So it becomes imperative for the organizations to do a outbound connect activity to keep the customers engaged, so that we as a company, we as the provider of that product is a top of mind recall. And then there are various engagement metrics which organizations use internally to measure how engaged the customer is with the organization, which comes through continuous interaction. And of course, reaching out to the customer on a regular frequency to keep that connect on. So I think both of these things of personalization and staying in personal touch are in a way interconnected as well, and they need to be balanced too. So that is how I would like to answer that. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you, Komal. Very insightful.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I think we are at the end of the time here. So we'll thank one more time our panelists for your time and helping us clarifying all this and being part of the community. We thank you so much, and we'll greatly appreciate all your effort, and so we'll look forward to talking to you soon in some other sessions in the future. Okay.
Sure.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Yeah.
Thanks, Udhavan.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm
everyone,
glad
for
to be
joining.
part of the
Yeah.
forum.
Glad to be
Yeah.
part of this. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Yeah.